The FIFA World Cup is the biggest spectacle in football. It's where legends are born, where football stars make history, and where billions of people stop to watch the very same match. But there's a side of this tournament that FIFA would rather many people forgot. Because throughout history, some World Cups have been marked by suspicions of match manipulation, unbelievable refereeing mistakes, political influence, and decisions that outrage the entire world. Some of these controversies changed the rules of football. Others are still being debated to this day, and one of them still makes millions of fans believe that the result should never have happened. So get ready, because today you're about to discover the 7 biggest controversies in World Cup history. And I'm sure at least one of them will leave you in disbelief. 7. Zidane versus Materazzi. If there's one image nobody ever expected to see in a World Cup final, it was this one. The best player of the tournament, France's captain. The man who had already scored in the final, completely losing his temper. It was July 9th, 2006. That year's World Cup was held in Germany. France and Italy were battling for football's biggest prize. On one side, a French team led by Zinedine Zidane playing the final match of his career. On the other, an extremely disciplined Italian side used to winning the biggest competitions. The final was tied. Extra time was nearing its end. And everything pointed to the champion being decided in a penalty shootout. Then, away from the ball, everything changed. As they walked toward midfield, Zidane and Italian defender Marco Materazzi exchanged a few words. No one could have imagined that just seconds later, the entire world would witness one of the most shocking moments in World Cup history. Without thinking twice, Zidane turned around and drove a brutal headbutt into Materazzi's chest. The Italian immediately fell to the ground. The stadium fell silent. Italy's players rushed toward the referee, and millions of people watching the match simply couldn't believe what they had just seen. After speaking with his assistants, the referee showed the red card. It was the end of Zidane's career, sent off in a World Cup final, unable to take part in the penalty shootout. France went on to lose, and Italy lifted the trophy, but the story didn't end there. Right after the match, the whole world was asking the same question. What did Materazzi say that provoked such an extreme reaction? For years, countless versions of the story emerged. Insults towards Zidane's family, personal taunts, offensive remarks about his sister. Materazzi himself admitted that he provoked Zidane, but denied several of the versions reported by the media. To this day, no one knows exactly what words caused one of the greatest players in football history to completely lose control at the most important moment of his career. And it was precisely that mystery that turned this headbutt into one of the biggest controversies in World Cup history. But as unbelievable as this story may seem, it's still far from being the most absurd one on this list. 6. West Germany versus Austria, 1982. Imagine watching a World Cup match and realizing that both teams had simply decided to stop playing. It sounds impossible. But that's exactly what happened at the 1982 FIFA World Cup. The match became known as the Disgrace of Gijón. And to this day, it's considered one of the biggest stains in World Cup history. Back then, the final round of the group stage wasn't played at the same time. That meant West Germany and Austria took the field already knowing exactly what result they needed. A few hours earlier, Algeria had defeated Chile 3-2. As a result, the Algerians finished their campaign believing they had qualified, but they still depended on the final match of the group, and that's where the controversy began. The math was simple. If West Germany won by just 1 or 2 goals, both teams would advance to the next round, and Algeria would be eliminated just 10 minutes into the match Horst Hrubesch scored for West Germany. At that moment, the scoreline was perfect for both teams. And what happened next became part of football history. The players practically stopped attacking. West Germany passed the ball around without any urgency. Austria didn't press, didn't defend aggressively, didn't even try to equalize. It was as if both teams had accepted the result. On the pitch, there was barely any football being played. In the stands, the reaction was immediate. Fans started booing. Some chanted, "Algeria, Algeria," in protest. Others waved banknotes in the air, suggesting the match had been fixed. Even the commentators lost their patience. One German television broadcaster even apologized live to its viewers for the disgrace they were witnessing. In the end, the score remained exactly as both teams wanted. West Germany qualified, Austria qualified, and Algeria was eliminated. It was never proven that there was an official agreement between the two teams. But for millions of people, what happened on that pitch seemed far too obvious to be just a coincidence. The backlash was so intense that FIFA made a historic decision. From that World Cup onward, every final round group stage match would be played at exactly the same time, a rule that still exists to this day. In other words, even without any punishments, that match changed the World Cup forever. And if this story already sounds unbelievable, the next one involves a team that needed nothing short of a miracle to reach the final and somehow got exactly the result it needed. 5. Argentina 6-0, Peru, 1978. Argentina needed to win by at least 4 goals to reach the World Cup final. It seemed like an incredibly difficult task. But what happened that night still divides opinion to this day and gave rise to the biggest conspiracy theory in World Cup history. The 1978 World Cup was being held in Argentina. The country was going through one of the darkest periods in its history. A military dictatorship was in power, and it used the tournament as a massive showcase to improve its image before the world. In the final match of the second group stage, Brazil had defeated Poland 3-1. As a result, Argentina took the field already knowing exactly what they needed. Only a victory by 4 goals or more would send them to the final. On the other side was Peru, a team that no longer had any chance of qualifying before kickoff. One incident made the suspicions even stronger. Argentina's president at the time, Jorge Videla, visited the Peruvian dressing room. The visit has never been fully explained, and it fueled rumors that have lasted for decades. When the match began, the unimaginable happened. Argentina completely dominated the game. The goals kept coming one after another. At the final whistle, Argentina 6, Peru 0. Qualification secured almost immediately. The conspiracy theories began. For years, rumors circulated about possible political and economic agreements between the two countries. There were also allegations of favoritism and even claims of pressure being placed on Peruvian players. But there's one important detail. No conclusive evidence has ever emerged proving that the match was manipulated. Even so, for many people, the coincidence was simply too great to ignore. To this day, it remains one of the most suspicious matches in football history. And more than 4 decades later, the debate is still far from over. But if you think this was the biggest case of outside interference in football, the next story tells of a much more recent controversy. One that made the entire world question FIFA's independence. For the Balogun case, 2026. A red card, a suspension, and a decision that made the entire world question FIFA's independence. It all happened during the 2026 FIFA World Cup, one of the tournament's most controversial moments, and one that quickly went far beyond the boundaries of football. During one of the matches, Balogun was sent off. As is normally the case at the World Cup, everyone expected him to serve an automatic suspension in the following match. That was the standard procedure, and almost no one expected a different outcome. But shortly afterward, the case took an unexpected turn. The suspension was reviewed and eventually overturned. As a result, Balogun was cleared to play again. The decision sparked a massive wave of controversy. Experts, journalists, former players, and fans all began questioning the criteria FIFA had used. Very quickly, the debate was no longer just about football. Many people began raising questions about possible political interference in the process. The controversy gained international attention and divided opinions across several countries. For some, FIFA had simply corrected what they believed was an unfair decision. For others, the incident set an extremely dangerous precedent. To this day, the Balogun case is still remembered as one of the biggest controversies of the 2026 World Cup, an episode that made many people question where football ends and where off-the-pitch interests begin. But if this decision already seems controversial, the next story is even more unbelievable. A player who was sent off in the semi-final and still ended up playing in the World Cup final. Before we reveal the top three, make sure to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to leave a like. Now, let's get into the top three. 3. Garrincha, 1962. Imagine being sent off in a World Cup semi-final and still playing in the final. It sounds impossible. But that's exactly what happened to Garrincha in 1962. One of the most controversial episodes in World Cup history. At that tournament, Garrincha was Brazil's key player. After Pelé's injury, he became the team's driving force. He scored crucial goals, delivered unforgettable performances, and carried Brazil all the way to the semi-final. In the match against Chile, the host nation, the atmosphere was incredibly tense. In the closing minutes, Garrincha got involved in an altercation, and the referee sent him off. At that moment, almost everyone believed he would automatically be suspended for the final. It would have been a huge blow for Brazil. But then, something unexpected happened. The case was reviewed before the final, and Garrincha was cleared to play. The decision shocked the world and immediately raised a series of questions. Many believed that Garrincha's status and the importance of the Brazilian national team influenced the outcome of the decision. Others argued that the red card had been too harsh and that the review simply corrected a refereeing mistake. The truth is, more than 6 decades later, the incident still divides opinion, and it continues to be cited as one of the biggest debates over whether football's biggest stars receive special treatment. In the final, Garrincha took the field as usual. Brazil defeated Czechoslovakia 3-1 and won its second World Cup title. But if you think this was the most controversial refereeing decision in World Cup history, the next one ranks even higher. And to this day, it still outrages millions of Italians. 2. South Korea versus Italy, 2002. Many Italians say they didn't lose that match. They were eliminated by the referee. It may sound like an exaggeration, but to this day, it remains one of the most controversial matches in World Cup history. It all happened in the round of 16 at the 2002 FIFA World Cup. Hosted by South Korea and Japan, Italy was one of the favorites to win the tournament, while South Korea was looking to make history in front of its home fans. Early in the match, An Jung-hwan missed a penalty for South Korea. Shortly afterward, Christian Vieri put Italy ahead. For most of the match, Italy seemed to be in complete control, but the controversy was only just beginning. As the game went on, A series of refereeing decisions left Italian players and fans furious. Ecuadorian referee Byron Moreno became the center of attention. In the second half, Francesco Totti was sent off after receiving a second yellow card for simulation. The decision was immediately disputed. In extra time, Damiano Tomasi scored what appeared to be Italy's winning goal, but it was ruled out for offside, a decision that also sparked massive controversy. Shortly afterward, An Jung-hwan scored the golden goal and secured South Korea's place in the quarterfinals. The result went down in history, but the debate never ended. For many, the refereeing decisions completely changed the outcome of the match. Others argue that refereeing mistakes are simply part of football, and that South Korea deserved to qualify. More than 2 decades later, this match is still remembered as one of the greatest examples of controversial officiating in World Cup history. And Byron Moreno's name remains forever linked to that Italian elimination. Won the Hand of God, 1986. The entire stadium saw it, millions watched it on television. Except the one person who mattered most, the referee. That's how the most controversial moment in World Cup history was born. It all happened in the quarterfinals of the 1986 FIFA World Cup. Argentina and England faced each other in a match surrounded by tension. Just 4 years earlier, the two countries had fought the Falklands War. The stakes went far beyond football. In the second half, Diego Maradona challenged goalkeeper Peter Shilton for a high ball. In that moment, Maradona subtly reached out with his hand and knocked the ball into the back of the net. The England players immediately surrounded the referee. They protested. They pointed to Maradona's hand, but the goal was allowed to stand. At that moment, Argentina took the lead and completely changed the course of the match. Just a few minutes later, Maradona scored again. This time, with a moment of pure genius. Dribbling past almost half of the England team before finding the back of the net, both goals became part of football history. One because of its brilliance, the other because of the controversy. After the match, Maradona himself described the first goal with a phrase that would live on for generations. According to him, the goal had been scored a little with Maradona's head and a little with the hand of God. That statement turned the incident into a football legend. To this day, the phrase "hand of God" is recognized almost everywhere in the world, and it's still remembered whenever a refereeing mistake changes the course of a match. Decades later, even with all the technological advances in football, no other moment has ever surpassed this one in fame and controversy. Because on that day, one simple touch of the hand changed the history of the World Cup forever.